Had to answer a phone call. Buddy's got problems with his snow machine. 2012 Polaris running on one cylinder. Just trying to get her all fingered out. There'd be a joke in here about Polarises, but since Arctic Cat might be going out of business, I think I'll keep my comments to myself. And we're doing the mag side first, so that'll be the short cable. Ooh, I gotta smash in a gasket real quick on that one. I'll get that here in a minute. Again, people tell me don't put oil on these. I put oil on them. I don't care. I'm not putting anise on something that's supposed to slide. I don't think anise is a proper lubricant. Again, this is what I showed on my other video. You really can't put these in backwards because that notch doesn't line up. It's not going in. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It just needs to make sure that this notch bottoms out on the bottom. It's a good thing to check for piston clearance. I never had that be an issue though. I've heard the tales. Never actually seen it though. Grab our pin. Give it some oil action. Slip her through. And we'll line up the inside first. And you are going to have a right and a left on this. That one says, yeah, I can't fucking read it. What about that one? That one says right. This one says left. And again, you're going to point vertical with your spark plugs. Find that alignment. Push her in. Alright, to go ahead and just verify, yeah, it's opening and closing properly, which that one is. And I did the same thing I did on the other one. I didn't put no oil on it. Give her just a little oil. Looks good. Then you're going to grab your right side. This is gonna, your left and right side are gonna be written with indicators here and here, which is left and right. So I wouldn't get too worked up about how the engine, you know, whether or not it's measured off of the engine sitting in the chassis or not. It's literally stamped on the casting. You can't mess it up. For the most part, I'd say you can't mess putting power valves up, but I've seen people do it. Not very often, but every now and then. And that moves nice and freely. And both of them are opening and closing. Get some bearing caps going. All on you. All on you. Finger action. What that finger do though? It do that. That's all it do. Alright, time for some O-rings. And if you're like me and you get all your stuff from MCB because they're mint, it'll be in your same bag that has your water pump gasket, your cylinder head gasket, your head bolt gaskets, and your injector gaskets. Give them just a little love. And again, everything pretty much I assemble on these sleds, I just use Arctic Cat CTEC2 oil for. You use whatever you want. I don't recommend putting any kind of foreign assembly lube or anything in these because they don't have a way to get rid of it. So if it's anything that's not CTEC2 oil, that's something it can burn, or at least it's supposed to be there. Don't recommend doing that. Put that bearing cap on. Get that cap on. And I'm pretty sure these are Loctited. Yes, Loctite at 55 inch-pounds. It's pretty much all the oil you're going to need. You're going to oil your guillotine, you're going to oil your crossbar, you're going to oil your two rolling blocks and your bearing caps, and that's pretty much all the oil we're going to put in on this. Some fucking glue would be nice though. Come on. Huh. Well, fuck you then. I got blue and orange, high strength removable. How about no? How about no? Oh no. I'm sorry, this is my first time. It's been a while. Come on, get on there, you fuck. Verify that just one more time, because the best time to figure out if it doesn't work is before you put it on. And I forgot to paint pen all this shit. Cool. It's pretty much the jug assembled here. This is not a bad time to assemble the cables on your power valve. It's just not a good time, so I'm not going to do it, because I found having a big power valve cable dangling off the side of it while I'm trying to slip it over onto the piston is suboptimal. So we're not going to do that. Take move our fuel injectors over yonder so they're out of the way. Grab our guillotine, rolling blocks, bearing caps, through bar, and since I thought I was sewing the cylinder off to get redone, I pulled the studs out of it, but those studs are gonna stay in there. Crossbars in there. Cool. I don't need those bolts either. Okay. Another baggie down. And then I grab the ring. Boop. That's right. That's left. That was weird. Moving on. Alright, time to get into the meat. We are pretty well ready to throw pistons and slam cylinders home now. There we go. Move that out of the way. Just going through a little mental check right now to make sure we're good to go ahead and start throwing on pistons and jugs. I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't, so let's go ahead and get her did. That and the other reason that I'm a little heavy on the oil is even though we're going to prime the lines with that syringe, you can't get all the air bubbles out of it, and sometimes you still get an air bubble. So it's good to go ahead and just be a little heavier on the oil. Don't get crazy, but I definitely recommend you put a good amount in there. We're just going over a couple spots around these cooling passages to make sure we get a good seal. Don't have any bullshit. I remember back when I first started buying MCB kits for like the 2019 CTEC2 DSI engines. They'd send it with a paper gasket, and it was the biggest piece of shit ever. You'd go to put that gasket down, and the jug would just eat this piece right here, and you'd slam the jug down. You'd look through the reed port, and she'd be gone. She'd be done. You'd have to take it apart, and then you'd have to call your cat dealer, and it was a whole thing. So I'm glad they've switched to metal gaskets now. They're a lot more reliable as far as when you actually go to put your jugs on. Throw those little bearings away. Grab all our cylinder head, our jug nuts. That's pretty much all we need out of here for time being. Ta-da! All right. Keep that set bagged. On these, arrow's going to be pointed towards the exhaust, and the reason that is your two ring pins that index your rings on your piston and keep them from rotating so they don't get in trouble with the ports and hang a ring off the ring edges. You're going to make sure that is pointed forward. If for whatever reason on an Arctic Cat you don't have an arrow on your piston, just remember these two pins back here are going to be facing towards your injector ports. And as long as you do that, you should be fine. Biggest deal is down in here, you have your two lands here, right around your injector port. That's where those two ring spaces are going to index. So as long as you got them there, you're fine. But anyway, when you're doing them like this, I like to go ahead and we have our PTO and our mag side. I like to go and put a little P on them, a little M on them, just to help me not have any issues. So again, we're doing our PTO side piston right now. When you put these rings in, you don't want to put them to where the gap is at a 90 degree with the up and down movement of the piston. Potentially, I've never seen it, but I've heard stories from other engine builders. If for any reason there's a harmonic that's able to compress this spring, there's a potential for it to fall out. And if it falls out, wrist pin walks its way out and eats your cylinder. So do yourself a favor. When I do them in line or at a 45, preferably in line. As long as you do them in line with the motion of your up and down for your piston, you shouldn't have any issues with this ever collapsing on itself and flying off. Never seen it happen in any of my sleds, but I've also never put the clips in backwards. So like and comment if that's ever happened to you though. So again, it scratches this little shit up because I don't think it's much more than painted on. Right now our gap's facing this way, which isn't bad, but optimally you'll take your right angle pick and just move that along a little. Like that. And now we're damn near vertical. Just one thing to pay attention to. Now, the reason I put this ring on first is because when you slap this piston on, it's not going to affect you so much on your first piston, but if you're doing this in chassis, you need to be able to get, you don't want to have this clip on because you're going to have to slide your wrist pin through. I know that sounds super common sense, but just like anything with engine building or anything with any kind of mechanical process, the stupider you can make it, the better. So if you can put a P on your piston and just make sure that you have them all pre-set up before you slap them on, you're not going to have any issues. So like on this one, we're going to put the ring, our retaining clip, on this side first. Does it actually make a difference? Like I said, it's more just in any process where there's the potential to have a lot of stress or a lot of anxiety, it's just better to make this process as stupid as possible. And see that one? Perfectly vertical. So we shouldn't have any issues at all. Alright, we're going to do rings. This is my least favorite part. I don't have a ring spreader. I have two hands. And all these rings are the same part number. And the few times I've done genuine cat pistons, they're all the same part number. This is another one of those, if you install it wrong, it's because you're stunned. So with these, you're going to flip them over and you're going to find most of these rings are going to have a dot or they're going to have top written on them. You can grab your piston and make sure you have it facing with the top up. You're going to slide it onto your first land, grab your finger, and then it's not want to come out of that pocket very well, is it? Slide onto your next land. Now when you're doing this, these rings will slide past their locating pins, and the other way you'll be able to tell is when you butt this up around the pin, it should be proper. It shouldn't, the two pieces of the ring that actually touch shouldn't be butting up against your locating pin in your piston. It should look a lot like that. Other thing is like I said, these rings can rotate around your locating pin. It's not going to be so much of an issue because you're not going to get this piston in without breaking the ring if you don't have that pin lined up with your ring gap, but it's just something to notate. Again, top, check your alignment. Looks good. One piston done. Next one. Okay, let's get them on the machine. I'm going to put some gloves back on because this is a fucking mess getting all this lined up. Move my glove box. You ever move anything on your assembly table and then you go to grab it and you put it somewhere else and you're like, oh, who fucking moved that? And you're like, oh yeah, I did. That happens to me all the time. We're going to do mag side first because that's my least favorite side. And rotate your piston about here. Grab these two. Now, the way these work is your bevel cut goes towards the connecting rod. You put them like this, it's not going to work. Makes the end of your rod too fat. So you're going to do it like that. And what that does is also helps locate them a little bit. Grab our mag side. Drop a smidge of oil on our wrist pin. And again, arrow towards the front, or if you don't have an arrow, these two locating pins towards your injector port. And when I'm doing that, I'm typically also using my finger from the other side just to line everything up and then force the pin through. Wipe my hands off so I can actually handle that clip without dropping it. Yeah, well, that's not going to work. Yep, I know it's a Ziploc. I can't get it off with gloves on, so knife deployed. And again, same rules here as the other side. Make sure your retaining pin is straight up and down. It's probably an old mechanic's tale, but I don't want to find out. And verify your ring's sitting down everywhere, which I don't think it is. I typically go around, and if it's not pulled in all the way into your groove, take your pick and get it into the groove. Because if you don't, first time you crank this thing up, it's going to fly out. Hit the piston cradle right there. Pull a roll bearing out of the wool. Get some oil on these. Bevel cut in. And then voila. Oh no. Fucking hate when that happens. Why is it so slippery? Okay, sound like that ring popped in. which it did, but you always should check. Over the fun part, getting jugs on. First thing we're going to do is kind of get the pistons both to a neutral position. Wipe everything back down. That's why I don't put the gasket on first. I don't want oil everywhere. I'm going to have a chance to come through and kind of give everything a wipe down, especially after I'm going to do this. Get your rings oiled up. Get your skirts oiled up. Get your rings back close to where they're supposed to be. And then repeat on this side. That's not enough oil. How much oil is too much oil? Now this part, I like to get whichever cylinder we're doing first to the top end. But that's after we do what we came here to do whenever we put them in a neutral position. Grab your base gasket. I'll be using that again. This gasket's really easy. You have your ports on bottom for coolant, your ports on the top for coolant. Make sure it's facing up. And make sure it's not covered in fucking oil. It's not super critical that this gasket's not covered in oil, doing as it is a stamped steel gasket, but old habits die hard. Okay. Again, we're going to start with our mag side. So let's dump everything out on the floor. check everything with your scraper. Wipe it all down. Should be good to go. And you know the drill. More oil. What you're kind of doing here is you're going to push the rings forward so you can locate them, and then squeeze them together. And you're just going to make sure once you get your jug started, that your rings are located where they're supposed to be. And then just kind of push your dowels through your gasket. Okay, 15 then 38 foot-pounds. .14mm or 9/16, whichever you want to use. They won't Loctite on that. They don't. They don't want Loctite on. Now, I don't recommend tightening these down until you get both jugs on. Just if for anything, to make sure you have the gasket, something pressing down on that gasket so nothing weird happens. Rock that piston over just like that. Grab our other jug. And typically what I like to do is grab it with this front piece on the jug and then kind of rock the cylinder onto the ring. But whatever way works for you. Tip pushed on. I'm just feeling to make sure we didn't pinch a gasket or anything, which we feel good. This is a good time, just go over, check for the fact both arrows are pointing towards your exhaust port. There's no binding. Nothing's hanging on any of the power valves when you push them all the way flat. And everything feels good. It's time to find, you know, it's always good to double, triple, quadruple check shit because it's better to find it now. And when you rush through it and then you put it in and it first two rotations it shit cans itself. So just go through that stuff now. Getting that done by hand. So it doesn't take quite so long. Do our 15 pass. I imagine some people are going to say you should probably do them. The way I do them is pick a side, 15, 15, and then 38 and 38 in the same pattern. Works. Okay. Then we're going to jump up to 38. Okay, there's that part done. Alright, there's your jugs put on. All of our valves are assembled, bottom ends together, everything rotates freely. Let's put a cylinder head on this thing. It's really the last big step, and then the rest of it's just going to be Y pipe, reeds, a couple things here and there. Wipe these off one more time. Make sure those grooves are nice and cleaned out. Get our first O-ring in there. Next one. Third one. And our last one. Make sure we got all of our bolts. It's going to be 12 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Didn't fuck up, did I? Ooh, I did fuck up. That's okay. Not a big deal. Bolt back here. Got to put that one in. And that one, 22 foot-pounds. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is get all these O-rings off. Probably don't need to replace them, but there's a couple that look pretty flat, so new kit comes with them. We're going to replace them. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Bolts are a little grody. Pull a nut O-ring for each one. Wouldn't put a lot on there, but just enough to lubricate it. So whenever we're torquing it down, once it gets down in the bottom of the chamfer, it doesn't have any chance of accidentally pinching it. Getting close to being done. Okay. Alright, now that we actually got it put on the right way, around, check a couple things. Was it 15 and 38? 13 and 28. Cool. All right, everything feels good. Let's move on. Gotta think a little bit what we're doing next. Throw on the power valves, throw on the fuel injectors, throw on the mag. I think we're gonna throw the mag on. Just pretty well done turning it over. I mean, good to go. Got compression. How much? Don't know, but it's there. So we'll throw this mag on